Hello everybody, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Sasaki and Miyano discussion videos. Today we're here to talk a little about episode 9, but before we get into the video proper, guess what? Who got a gold star? You got a gold star. Go ahead and check it out. There is your gold star for the week, and hey, if you would like to get another gold star next week, then be sure to make sure to get this video to 200 likes. I would sincerely appreciate it. 200 likes before next week's episode, and I will gift you another gold star. And enjoy the visuals, because this is what you're getting. I'm trying to keep the channel as safe as possible, so think of it like a podcast. So throw your feet up, kick back, relax, put this video in another tab if you got something going on, and let's talk about Sasaki Miyano episode 9, shall we? So, a lot to talk about. This episode pretty much picks up immediately with the aftermath of last week's whole thing with the big hug and the feelings that were inspired in us. As you probably remember, I was screaming for most of it. That was a thing that happened. But yeah, it pretty much opens right with that scene, and I was sitting there going like, please just kiss. please just kiss. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted in that moment, was just a little kiss, just a quick little kiss. But no, didn't happen. Came super close to happening, and again, I would like to point out, slow burn in air quotes. They almost kissed, but slow burn. Y'all would not be prepared for some of the slow burn anime I have seen. This is not a slow burn anymore. At this point, they are well, I guess it is still a slow burn. It's just it's a slower burn than other shows, but I don't consider this the slowest burn I've ever seen in terms of two characters getting together. Because at this point, both Sasaki and Miyano are very aware of their feelings and are almost positive that the other feels the same way. So it's just sort of a matter of, is Miyano ready to make that plunge, That's sort of where they're at. So the kiss to me was a huge, oh my god moment, right? It was just kind of cool. It was just to me, not cool, but it was just kind of just nice. Just made you feel good, because you're like, oh, they're gonna kiss. And then friggin' Tadano shows up and interrupts by accident. He's like, oh, the door's locked. Miyano's like, what? And then Saki's like, yeah, anyway. I was like, oh yeah, my man did lock the door. That was a thing that happened. Also, I suppose I can just mention this now. Apparently, people were upset with Sasaki last week. I was not aware of that. I had a lot of comments and tweets and stuff from people saying that they were relieved that I wasn't mad at Sasaki. That was interesting. So apparently a lot of people were, I don't know if this is a lot of people, and feel free to correct me in the comments, but apparently there was a good amount of people who were pretty upset with Sasaki over him asking Miyano to drop out. I guess the jealousy is enough that people are beginning to notice and take real issue with it. To me, I'm not remotely upset with Sasaki, at all. Because to me, that's kind of a silly thing to be upset about. Because Sasaki's always been jealous. This is not new. I don't know why people are acting as though it is new. Him asking Miyano to drop out because he's uncomfortable with people, looking at Miyano being pretty, he wants Miyano all to himself. That's not surprising. That's just that's just Sasaki telling Miyano how he feels, because that's who he is. Sasaki's always been the jealous type, and I don't know why people are apparently surprised by it. Now again, unless I'm mistaken, I just got a lot of comments about people saying that, oh, I'm so relieved so many people were mad at Sasaki, I'm glad you weren't. Very confused by that. I was like, who? Really? Who was mad? Was someone mad? Who was mad? Who's mad? Do I gotta talk to somebody? But yeah, it was not yell at somebody, but just tell them, dude, Sasaki was always jealous. That's not a surprise. So if anybody was mad, point them out. And I'll be like that. I'm not gonna go to them and be like, hey, you listen to me. But it's yeah, maybe not point them out, but just confirm, right? Because confirm if that happened or not. Because Yeah, Sasaki was always jealous and was always overly protective of Miyano. That's nothing new. Um, and we see it again here, right? Like, in fact, I'd say that, like, because Sasaki is just proving to me what a good, like, top tier best boy contender he is, right? Him and Miyano both, because obviously, you know, Miyano later tells him in the episode, like, hey, I'm not gonna drop out because a lot of people have been putting in a lot of work. I made this decision myself because when you told me that you would like me no matter what I looked like you would like me no matter what my face became, like, that gave me a lot of confidence. And Sasaki was like, wait, I set him on this path? Like, I did this? Like, what I said mattered that much to him? Like, and Sasaki's like, you know what? That's great. Like, good luck, you know? Like, I actually, like ganbatte, I wish you luck, you know? And it was cute, right? I also loved that Hirano was there, sort of like listening into the conversation. I adore that. Like, Hirano seemed like very proud of Sasaki this week, because, you know, like, Sasaki obviously is protective and he gets jealous very easily. He's always been a jealous boy. I think one of my thumbnails even called him a jealous boy. And so Hirano likely knows this as well. Like, Hirano obviously knows how protective Sasaki is of Miyano, how jealous he can get towards Miyano. This is not new to Hirano, but like, Hirano knows that Miyano means a lot to Sasaki, and so Sasaki is willing to put aside his own jealousy and his own insecurities about people looking at Miyano and sort of like idolizing him or like seeing Miyano the same way that he does. Sasaki puts that aside because he knows that what Miyano's doing right now makes Miyano happy. And Hirano sees that and is obviously very proud of him. And I feel like we all should be proud of the boy. Sasaki's doing good, dang it, and I'm proud of him. I don't know. I liked it. Also the fact that Sasaki can reach out now and hold Miyano's like hand or hold his face in his hand, you know, like, he actually is able to reach out and sort of touch Miyano, which is something that he was too nervous to do before. You know, it was something that made him uncomfy before. But now he's actually able to do it and he feels comfortable doing it. And it's like, yeah, that's my boy. That's my boy. Look at him grow and evolve. Blows my mind that anyone could ever be mad at the boy. Right? Also, especially considering the fact that my boy looks friggin' amazing in a Yankee outfit. He looks amazing as a Yankee tough, or a hooligan, as the Funimation dub calls him. By the way, you know, the lack of screenshots really just allows me to kind of go all over the place with the audio. But by the way, anyone else kind of frustrated that because I saw like the hooligan fortune cafe, and I was like, Yankee doesn't necessarily mean like it does and doesn't mean hooligan, right? So I was like, that's a weird subtitling thing, because they specifically say Yankee cafe, and I'm like, a Yankee is a specific thing from Japan, right? They're not hooligans. They're sort of delinquent. I would sooner say delinquent cafe would make more sense. So hooligan was a weird choice. Just felt kind of cutesy, right? Which, again, it kind of makes sense. Sasaki Miyano is a cutesy show, but I feel like you could have said Delinquent Cafe and it would have been fine. I've even seen YouTubers like post about, so I did get kind of spoiled on it, but I've seen YouTubers post like oh, Delinquent Sasaki, right? So I was waiting the whole episode to see this Delinquent Sasaki, and it's at the tail end. And so I was like, delinquent is the word that everyone would use, like when you think of a Yankee. If you don't know what a Yankee is, essentially a Yankee is usually a school-aged character, like high school-aged character who, you know, has like dyed hair, which is kind of uncommon in Japan, or at least back when Yankees were very popular, that was very uncommon. Usually dyed blonde hair, pompadours, right? They wear their school uniforms sort of open. You've likely seen the Yankee archetype quite a bit if you're not new to anime. If you're new, you might not know, but if you aren't and you've been watching anime for a while, you've likely seen the Yankee archetype, which is essentially like they wear their school jacket open, they have like flashy clothes underneath, they have like flashy pins and and necklaces and stuff. Like they want to appear. It's sort of like being like, it's sort of like how a peacock has like a bunch of feathers, or has like these really pretty feathers. It's just kind of like to show off, right? And Yankees essentially reject authority, and they choose to live by their own code, right? And a lot of Yankees end up becoming like not great people because of it, because essentially they're like rejecting society. A lot of Yankees do grow up and fall out of the Yankee sort of stereotypes and way of life and stuff like that, and some become like regular people and others become like businessmen and stuff like that. But others do end up actually falling into ranks like, you know, the Yakuza, or like gangs and stuff like that. So that's what a Yankee is. So now that I'm saying it out loud, I can kind of understand why maybe the subber didn't want to necessarily associate those things with Sasaki specifically. But I think it makes, I think to me it's weird to ignore it, right? Like calling it a hooligan makes it seem a lot more cutesy than what it is. There's a reason why Sasaki opens the door like, you got a lot of nerve coming here, right? And then felt embarrassed, because Sasaki knows he's not a Yankee, right? Like he's a tough guy, like he's a tough dude, he gets in a lot of fights, but he knows he's not like a Yankee. Like, I remember thinking that maybe Sasaki was supposed to be a Yankee. Like, him and Hirano and Oga, they all dye their hair. Sasaki gets in a lot of fights. So he might be seen as sort of like a light Yankee, right? A very sort of like fair weather Yankee, but he's kind of just like a cool dude who gets in fights. You know, so like that's part of the reason why it was so funny when he opens the door as a Yankee. Like, this is how other people might see Sasaki. You know, so I feel like using the Yankee term would have been more appropriate. But Funimation instead decided to go with hooligan. And this is no knock against the subber. Obviously, subbing anime is a job that I obviously respect, even when I don't necessarily agree with the translation. It's a hard thing to do, because the things that I don't agree with are the few things that I know, right? Like, I'm not, like, there's probably a lot of other things that gets lost in translation that I just don't know, because I don't speak the language, right? So I have nothing but respect. I just disagree with that specific term. And as a side note, when is Funimation moving their stuff over to Crunchyroll? Like, remember when Crunchyroll was like, hey, we have all of Funimation's catalog except Sasaki and Miyano, which I would prefer to watch Sasaki and Miyano over on Crunchyroll. I know people have like a differing... I've seen some people say that they actually prefer the Funimation player, which is mind-blowing to me, because I've never liked the Funimation player. It has always been bad. So to me, I'm like, I'm so confused why this isn't on Crunchyroll. But still... you know, it's fine. Especially since I don't need to take screenshots anymore, because taking screenshots on the Funimation player was a nightmare. Although I still need to make the thumbnails. So, just that. But still, I don't know. I thought the Yankee thing was weird. That was a weird translation decision. What else though? Oh, Tadano. Before we close, I want to talk a little bit about Tadano. Tadano this week. Oh, and also the friggin' the nurse thing. We're not done yet. Never mind. I thought we were gonna wrap up. I'm like, never mind. We still got more to talk about. Tadano. I'm gonna talk about Tadano first, because Tadano, and because we talked a little bit about Hirano and why he's a good wingman for Sasaki, but Tadano is a good wingman for Miyano. Tadano is obviously so dedicated to his partner, right? Like, so dedicated to his girlfriend. But he also, like, I think because he's so in love and because he can kind of spot it, he knows how Miyano feels for Sasaki. He even says, like, I should really ask about the fitting room thing later. And Tashiro's like, what are you talking about? And Tadano's like, nothing, don't worry about it. Like, I like that Tashiro is just completely in the dark. You know, he just doesn't really know. Whereas, like, characters like Tadano, characters like Oga, the chairman, Hirano, like, those guys, like, they know and can tell. But Tashiro just has, like, no idea. And neither does seemingly the rest of the class. Like, the other characters, like, know something's up with Miyano, because he's acting weird most of the episode. Like, he's acting sort of funny after, like, the fitting room thing, but nobody really knows why, except Tadano. Like, Tadano seems to be the only one who notices Miyano's acting weird and knows the reason why he might be. So I did think that was interesting. The fact that, you know, Tadano's just a good dude. Like, Tadano knows what Miyano is feeling and is trying to help him out, even though he doesn't necessarily know what it's like for, like, you know, to like another dude, because Tadano does seem like, you know, Tadano just seems like a straight guy. right? Who's very comfortable with his own sexuality, right? Because I've seen some people be like, is Tadano bi? And I go, no, he seems like a straight dude who's just very comfortable with himself. You know, I don't really sense bi energy from Tadano. I just think he's like a straight dude who's very comfortable, right? He doesn't mind cross-dressing. He doesn't mind looking at BL. Doesn't really bother him, right? So I think he's straight. He's just kind of, you know, he's just very comfortable with himself. So he might not know what it's like to like another dude, but he does understand what it is to love someone. And I think that Tadano is trying to impart the knowledge that he has over to Miyano while still taking care of him. Like, the way that Tadano takes care of Miyano is something that I don't think we talk about enough. You know, like, I see a lot of people talk about how sometimes shipping might negatively affect how people view, like, healthy male friendships, right? And to me, a great example of a healthy male friendship in a BL series is Miyano and Tadano. Like, the two really do take care of each other. They care about each other. They can act kind of flirty towards each other, but it never comes off as like a ship thing. It always kind of comes off as just, these are two best friends who very much care about each other. And, you know, best friends flirt sometimes, you know, like, best friends be flirty with each other on occasion. And that's just how this feels to me. And I feel like we don't talk about the Tadano-Miyano friendship enough. We usually just kind of talk about Tadano being like really cool and funny, and we talk about the Sasaki Miyano ship, but we don't talk enough about Miyano and Tadano's friendship. You know, like, it's genuinely very wholesome, the way that Tadano just kind of accepts Miyano. He doesn't really care. He never had the Hirano Sasaki talk with Miyano, you know, like, where Hirano had to come to grips with the fact that Sasaki was interested in Miyano, right? And where his friend is interested in another guy, which is sort of uncommon in Japan. Right, so we never really had that conversation with Tadano and Miyano. He just kind of accepts Miyano as he is, you know? And he can just tell that Miyano's into Sasaki, and more than just like a Kohai Senpai type thing. He knows that his boy is very much in love with their senpai. And he's trying to help him out, because he also can likely tell that Sasaki is also very much interested in Miyano. And the way that he helps out, the way that he sort of guides and nudges and pushes in certain directions, right? Like, him and Hirano both, like, this week, we see them interacting with Sasaki and Miyano in ways where they don't necessarily want to get in the way. Like, Tadano, when he even says, like, oh, the door's locked, he doesn't say anything else after. He just goes, oh, it's locked. Or he just kind of leaves it. And only after Sasaki shows up that he's like, oh, Sasaki-senpai, what's going on, right? Like, it's just sort of like he's trying not to get in the way. And even when he takes Miyano out to lunch, he says, like, where do you want to go? And when they go to the Yankee place, he sees that the chairman has a fortune-telling booth, because the cafe is the Yankee Fortune Cafe, right? The Yankee Fortune Cafe, which is such a fun idea. But he's like, I'm gonna go get my fortune read, right? Like, which I think he was excited about. Like, I do think Tadano was excited to get his fortune read, but he's also like, I'm going to go get my fortune read. I will leave you two here, right? Like, just sort of like, you two can hang out here for a bit. I'm gonna go get my fortune read. Like, he just cares, right? Like, the way he really, truly cares. Like, the scene at the book, at the bookstore as well. Like, when they're picking up manga, like, he asks, like, Miyano, like, which do you like, right? Like, which manga do you think is best for my girlfriend? But he also points out that, like, if his girlfriend had asked him to quit something, he wouldn't do it right away. He would make sure that she was genuinely serious before making a decision, because if he just quit and she was, like, kind of half joking, that's something that might actually make her feel bad, right? Basically saying, like, you can do things for your partner, but doing them just because your partner said so, that's also not okay, right? Tadano basically giving very healthy relationship advice. And again, he's just the man. We stand Tadano. In this house, we stand Tadano. But yeah, in this house, we stand Tadano, and we shrimp for Yankee Sasaki. I feel like that's the things that we do here. That's what we do. That's what we understand. Speaking of Sasaki, though, I do want to talk a little bit about how frackin' cute that friggin' nurse's office scene was, where Miyano tells Sasaki, rather, I want to take care of you, senpai, which is the title of this episode. That was so cute. That was so cute. It made my heart go boom da ba ba boom ba ba ba. Very strange heartbeat, but wow, I just quoted Dane Cook. Irregular heartbeat. It's a thing. But Dane Cook references in 2022. But yeah, Miyano telling Sasaki that he wants to take care of him was so freaking sweet. I loved it. It was so freaking cute. The whole scene with Miyano taking care of Sasaki was so cute, and it was like wholesome. It was good serotonin, you know, it was good energy. We stand this. The good vibes in this whole episode were great, right? Like Sasaki being sort of out of commission and Miyano wanting him to get better so that they can actually hang out during the cultural festival. I loved it, right? So good. So freaking cute. I loved it. It was funny that we literally never see the nurse. I thought that was really funny, but outside of that, so freaking cute. I loved it to pieces. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Such a good episode. But I think that's about it. So with all that said, outro. And there you have it, everybody. That is going to wrap it up for today's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and set notifications to all. Let all of AnyTube know that you are here. And if you haven't done so already, go ahead and check out our Discord so that you can actually be notified when new videos go up. And of course, you'll also be notified when we're streaming over on the other website that starts with a T. On top of being the best way to get notified for new videos, it's also a good place to discuss with fellow anime fans and stuff like that. So if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and join us over on the Discord. Link down in the description. Also linked to the description is our Patreon page, and that, along with the join button right beside the sub button, are great ways to help keep this channel afloat. You will find our Patreon page for as little as $1. You can help keep this channel running. And of course, a big thank you I have to give to our masters of masters, the true legends: Asaki VT, Elizabeth Just Elizabeth, JCran23, Jeremy P, Matt87 Eagle, Shadow Creative, Shiorins, Stephen G, Stevie W, Trapmaster, Trevor W, and Tristan G. Thank you all so much for being so freaking cool. I really love and appreciate all of you guys for your tremendous support of this channel. And if you too would like to have your name shouted out at the end of videos, once again, go check out that Patreon link in the description or hit the join button right beside the sub button. Either way helps out a ton. And that's it for me. So until next time, clean your room. Just trust me, a clean room is a clean mind. Maybe do some Tai Chi. You know, drink lots of water and brush your teeth. And yeah, have a good day. Bye.